Here is a country of great contrast.
Great civilization of antiquity.
A foreign country a step away.
All right, we're back. I'm back. It's the Casa de Cavazos. Justin in Chicago, Ada in Harlingen, Texas, Nathan in West Dakota, Texas, providing that Tejano connection to reality. How is it going? You staying safe from that bird flu?
I don't have any birds around me, so that helps.
They say it's going to pets now.
My pets mostly stay inside, though, until today when I walked both of my dogs.
You're not a dog walker, historically.
We're trying to continue on the path of health. So my daughter expressed interest in walking, so now we're doing some walks, and I said, why don't we take the dogs out? Unfortunately, one of the dogs has never really been on a walk, so he didn't know what to do. He was freaking out. He wasn't moving. He had to be dragged a little bit, then carried a bit, and he finally got comfortable. The other dog's so old and so sick that initially he was having fun, and I think he continued to have fun, but he was limping. So I'm like, yeah, let's cut this walk short.
He used to like escaping from the house, right?
I think he still would. He just has difficulty moving around sometimes now. And he's got heart failure too, so that makes it harder.
Yeah. Well, the younger dog will probably poop and pee in the house less now.
So let's hear about your trip to San Francisco, because isn't it super dangerous there? All big cities are like murder capitals of the world.
Yeah, everything's terrible. I died like 6 times.
Why, did you try Ibogaine?
No, I was just getting stabbed with like heroin needles all over the place.
So how many times did you get Narcan then?
I told you I died every time.
So 6 Narcan injections. But seriously, what was it like?
I mean, the weather was pretty nice. It was nice and walkable. Public transit is great. I was commuting in from a suburb of San Francisco most of the days. I was pretty much only going to the Airbnb to sleep. So taking the Caltrain, which is electric and has high-speed Wi-Fi, getting a walk around San Francisco. I mean, any like major city is going to have some homelessness, but honestly, it wasn't as bad as I remember it being. I'm sure it's still bad because things are over there are super expensive, and people don't like legislation that encourages more affordable housing to be built when they're really rich, no matter where they are in the political spectrum. So that's still a problem, but restaurants were good. Lots of good opportunities to meet folks from all over the country, meet folks from the Bay Area who work in video games.
I was listening to something today where they said, oh, well, they're not building enough homes in California and Texas is building constantly. Is there the space there, though, to build? Because here, there are so many fields everywhere. There's so much like open land to build on.
I think one of the biggest problems is not necessarily in San Francisco, not necessarily in San Jose, but a bunch of these smaller districts that are between them have really aggressive zoning ordinances that you can't, like in Palo Alto by Stanford, I don't think you're allowed to build apartment buildings in a lot of the city that's like more than 3 stories tall.
That's interesting.
But I don't know if that's changed since I was out there.
Yeah.
There is space and there's still some stock, but I mean, in places like Chicago too, a lot of buildings are getting torn down for new multi-unit housing, but it's always like luxury housing targeted at young professionals.
Okay.
Not necessarily for families or for people who are just trying to get into the housing market.
Okay.
I thought we were talking about basketball, though. What happened there?
Yeah, what the hell? It's ADHD, man.
So now that you saw the Warriors in person, Ada felt like after that game, they don't really look like contenders. What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like anything's possible as long as Jimmy Butler's on the floor. Did you see that play on TV where he dove for this loose ball that was going to go out of bounds?
I don't think so.
It was just impossible looking in person how far he dove. I thought for sure that was going out of bounds. I was like, what the hell? How did he save that? Completely laid out. I mean, it is concerning that they're getting crushed by a bunch of bench warmers.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, Ada said that, and then the Nuggets followed that game up against the Lakers, and they had some guys out, and they got completely crushed by the Lakers.
It just looked like the Warriors really couldn't defend Denver. So that was what I was concerned about.
Well, they couldn't defend. They were extremely sloppy with the ball. Both teams had a ton of turnovers that game. I think like around 20 each for the whole game. But as soon as, like Draymond or Gary Payton second or Jimmy Butler all had some really good defensive plays, got some steals, it would just throw these careless passes and just lose all those opportunities, which would have been crucial when they were behind.
I had seen that when the Nuggets were playing the Lakers. They were talking about how they had a ton of turnovers in the Golden State game, but they had won somehow. But against the Lakers, it was just like free baskets for the Lakers on every freaking turnover. I don't know. I don't really think I would put too much stock into that game.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how Minnesota at the same time, like they were both on that run. But I was telling her that when you get to this part of the season and you're really trying to move up the standings, like it takes a lot of effort to try to win every game. So every once in a while, you'll just run out of gas and then you got to regroup again.
Yeah. And even that last Warriors championship, they had turnover problems all season, but they somehow figured them out during the playoffs. As long as they put themselves in a good position, they're going to be okay. But I will say, I don't think that they're really going to have any type of home court advantage at the Chase Center. The vibe is different than Oracle. That's like one of the biggest things I noticed. I went with my friend to this Warriors Nuggets game, and it was weirdly like polite and quiet. Like people were just like sitting there as if they're waiting for intermission at a symphony orchestra concert or something. Just like clapping every now and then and just waiting. But when we got in there, the person who helps people find their seats was saying like, hey, like if you need to go to the bathroom, you should probably do it in the second quarter. Like you're not going to get in at halftime. And I know like people go to the bathroom at halftime. That's the thing that happens. But
Right.
I've never seen so many people, like in terms of the percentage of the stadium, exit their seats to go leave at halftime. And I feel like that's going to be kind of huge in games where, I don't know, you make a halftime adjustment. There's a third quarter swing that you would hope for coming out of halftime. But part of that is the energy of the fans. Like pretty much like halfway into the third quarter, there were still hardly any fans back in their seats.
Yeah. But I wonder if that was because a certain type of person tends to sit in that area, because I was looking at the ticket prices. StubHub was trying to charge like $700, $600 a seat in that area.
Jesus.
And somehow I decided to look at Ticketmaster, and they actually had way more reasonable resale prices. And I was able to get each of the seats for $220 each, which it's probably around face.
Yeah. I think the Silicon Valley, the across the bay, San Francisco vibe is very different. I mean, most of the coolest people I know from the Bay are in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
And Oakland's got a very different vibe. I mean, it was that whole cross Bay rivalry with the 49ers and the Raiders. You know, like the 49ers are like the upper class hoity-toity tech people, and the Raiders are the more working class, like more diverse people who really care about their team and put in all this effort. You paid for us to do a Warriors game back in 2012. We pulled up the stats right before this pod, but that was in April when the Warriors sucked. They were bad. Steph was in and out with injuries. Steph didn't play that game. The Spurs were rounding into form to win the title a few years later. And even though that team was horrible and they got blown out, the Warriors fans were really, really into it. That Oracle Arena crowd was built different. And then this one, the Warriors clawed back. They brought it within single digits. But as soon as the game was out of reach, even with under 2 minutes to play, people just began streaming outside of that arena immediately. They couldn't even wait to get out.
So were they still at Oracle during the last title run?
Well, could it also be because there's that whole situation with parking, and when most of your fans come in driving, people are like wanting to get out so they can get ahead of the traffic. So that's what I like about Brooklyn. That's a really sweet setup to be able to subway in right to the arena. Like literally the subway exits right in front of the arena.
There's public transit that goes straight to the Chase Center.
But how many people use it?
The car that I was on was full of Warriors fans when I went there.
Okay. But then you had a friend that went to the game with you and he drove, right?
Yeah, but he was coming from like Menlo Park in Palo Alto.
Was that like a 2-hour drive for him?
What?
How long is it? An hour?
In rush hour, probably like an hour.
Oh, okay.
So the last game in Oracle was in 2019.
Okay.
And then the last Warriors championship was that 2021-2022 season.
Okay. Is it also because this arena is a lot bigger, a lot more spacious, a lot more airspace?
I mean, I would think that whoever was building a brand new arena would consider the acoustic advantage of having your fans. But I'm just saying, like, the area that we were in, I mean, it might also be because the chairs are more comfortable. I don't know if you've ever been to an arena, no matter where. Like, our seats, they were not hard plastic. They were padded.
Oh, nice.
So maybe that added some acoustic absorption.
I don't think their goal was to have a good ambiance. The goal was to create like a healthy facility and to have all these crazy suites. When they were talking about it, I think KD was on the team. When they were talking about the plans, it was more about getting like a premium experience for like people who have a lot of money.
I don't know. I feel like Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee feels like a premium experience too. But the fans care so much more.
Yeah.
Well, like the Clippers definitely designed their new arena to really get after the other teams. And it's when KD played there the first game of the season, he was like, oh shit, like this really works.
Yeah, that was built as a basketball arena.
Whereas when they were talking about the new Warriors arena, they're talking about all these like crazy suites that they were building.
Yeah, they have like a United Club in there.
What?
They have a United Club at the Chase Center.
Why would you be in a United Club?
I don't know, because if you want to use your one-time passes on the United Explorer card, just go in the United Club.
That's bizarre.
I did not have any beer there. Draft beer, premium draft beer was like $20.
I do have a United Club membership, so I guess I could have gone.
So no Warriors championship is what you're saying.
I think a lot would need to break their way the right way.
I mean, also it looks like they're going to play Denver in the first round.
Well, it depends if they drop. I mean, I think they could play just about anybody. They're definitely not going to drop to 8, I don't think. I think they'll stay out of the play-in. So
Yeah.
you're talking about either playing Houston, Memphis, LA, or Denver.
with Aaron Gordon out there, like my friend who doesn't regularly watch basketball, and just kind of sitting where we were sitting, seeing the scale of the whole thing, he was like, I didn't like those Denver guys. They just look so much bigger.
Yeah.
They look so much bigger than the Warriors. And like Looney wasn't even playing that much too. So, I mean, they don't really have the size to challenge some of these teams. Like even without Jokic, like Gordon is a force. I think sometimes people actually literally forget that he was so important to the Magic. Like he might have been a disappointment there in the role that he was, but that guy was a baller. He's a dunk contest champion. He's super athletic. He's huge.
And apparently he's shooting 46% from 3 this year. So I was watching that Laker game where they got blown out, but anytime he got an open 3, it was like in.
Yeah.
So he really worked on his game. Apparently he's even working so hard in his game that he's at his like home gym, just getting up shots all the time. And it's really paid off. If you watch him, like I think he was like a career like low 30%. And even though he's missed some games, so he's not eligible yet to be like the leader, but 46% from 3, he would be leading the league by far.
That's crazy. He's real good. I hadn't seen a lot of those players in person. I've been to a couple of games in Chicago, in Brooklyn, Milwaukee. I've not gone to a game in San Antonio, but I've gone to some of those Warriors games. But I haven't seen any of those players play in person, except for Russell Westbrook. Because Russell Westbrook at one point came with Thunder, a team that was pretty underestimated at the time, and came into Chicago, and Russ beat that team by himself. That was a good game.
I mean, I would argue Russ won this game by himself too. He looked so good. He was throwing assists all over the place.
Do you have like selective vision? You don't remember like all like the air ball and front of the rim threes he took?
In this game that you were at?
Yes.
But also he had 16 assists, dude.
Those threes were horrible. There was like one possession that was like a double air ball. It was like him and someone else shot air balls.
Interesting.
Well, speaking of the Bulls, I finally got to see them play last night. And man, they got a lot of young talent. It looks like they're finally put together. I think they were saying they've won like 7 of their last 9. I mean, they could have missed from 3, but then again, the Lakers look completely off. And they decided to bring Luka and LeBron back together, maybe to ease them in. And the Bulls just walloped them. It was bad. Like they couldn't get any stops whatsoever. And that reminded me, I was like, you know what? Like people are saying like if they get OKC, they'll knock them out. There's just no way. Like OKC is like the Bulls on steroids. young, talented, and they've been together for a couple of years already.
Yeah, they've had those guys for a while. It was just with their lineup with Levine and DeRozan, it was just hard for those guys to really get minutes. Maybe if someone was out, Kobe White is their guy. And the last Bulls game I went to, that Buzelis guy who kind of shat the bed on the dunk contest, he played good minutes for them.
He was going crazy last night. I think he had 29. I think White also had 30 some points on like 16 shots. Like they were really rolling last night.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. Might have to go. I will say that, you know how in The Last Dance they characterized the Bulls owner and GM as being kind of cheap?
Yeah.
You can tell.
Well,
Like of all the arenas that I've been to over the past couple of years to watch basketball games, the United Center remains, let's just say, the most basketball focused.
but it's kind of old now, isn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't it
it's pretty
from when
old.
Jordan was still playing.
It's really old.
Well, they do play the Lakers again on Thursday, so you could definitely catch that.
Are you gonna go, Justin?
On Thursday?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Get to see Luka and LeBron.
Damn. I was at this conference all week. It's hard for me to think about the future.
What?
Well, I've just been busy all week because I got to plan out all this stuff that I need to catch up on now that I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay, so this great performance from Russell Westbrook.
16 assists.
5 for 18 from the field. He made 5 field goals.
Yes, but what about the rest of it? It was a triple double.
He was 2 for 9 from 3.
Okay, but look at the rest of the stats because he's got a triple double.
Yes, I know he has a triple double. 16 assists, 12 rebounds, 12 points. He-
Yeah. In the first half, actually, they were fawning over him, the commentators.
That's how he started missing every shot.
5 for 18.
So, was anything about the experience at the Warriors game stressful, or was it a pretty nice, relaxed, fun experience?
That was nice. I don't know what will be stressful about it. They have like a bag check because you can't bring in backpacks of a certain size. And I was at the conference all day, so I left my backpack in the bag check. Huge line. The only stressful part was it seemed like they had lost track of it and were struggling finding it for a minute.
So,
Hey, hold on. I just want to, just one last thing.
Okay.
Do the math. Russell Westbrook shot 27.7% from the field.
Yeah, but look at all the impact he had, all the assists he had. He accounted for how many points of the assists?
All right, I'm done with this.
So you're so stressed out. That reminds me about what Bernie Sanders was saying about stress.
Oh, my God. I'm not even done talking about basketball, but we can talk about Bernie if you want.
Did you see what he said about stress killing?
No.
He said that there's a 7-year life expectancy gap between the working class and the wealthy due to stress. What do you think about that?
I believe that. It might not just be health outcomes. A lot of people who are really stressed might be more depressed, might be more likely to take their own lives. There are a lot of factors at play.
Yeah.
Sometimes people who are stressed will treat with drugs, alcohol. Affects your life expectancy. Blood pressure is higher.
Yeah.
Some people stress eat.
So it's actually not something new. Like, I've heard this. I actually heard it on continuing education. I would say over 5 years ago, someone was saying stress is the new smoking. Like, that's how inflammatory it is on your body.
How is it the new smoking? Stress is older than smoking.
Well, I think what they were trying to say was that smoking had decreased and now stress was supplanted as more of a carcinogenic inflammatory thing than smoking, just because there are probably more people that are affected by stress at this point. And people didn't really realize that stress could be as damaging as smoking.
So when he's talking about this, is this at the rally where he was asking people like what they were worried about?
I'm not sure which rally because he's doing a lot of rallies.
I think it was on there. I think I saw the video on the same article that you linked, and he was asking people what they were worried about, and it was just like getting their kids clothes. Do I get glasses or do my kids get glasses?
Mm-hmm.
Just knowing if they were going to make it to the next month, keeping the heat on. It was sad.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just the fact that you're concerned about paying for things. It's also the fact that a lot of the jobs that people work in the working class are crappy.
Yeah.
You work a lot of hours, you work hard. People can't even get the time off they need.
It's a high impact on the body and on the mind.
Yeah. And you may not be able to get the time off that you need to go to the doctor or to take care of yourself. Or maybe you can't even find the time or the energy to exercise, do other things you need to do to be healthy, whether it's like cooking healthy meals for yourself or cooking healthy meals for your children. Someone told me recently there wasn't really anything I could do. I had to feed my kid McDonald's and other things like that because I didn't have the time. If I worked a 12-hour shift, I didn't have the time, I didn't have the energy to make a meal or plan a meal. And so I just get McDonald's for the kids.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're being a bad parent. It's just like survival mode.
And it gets passed along too. I mean, to think that kids are just kids, they don't experience stress. Like they probably experience the same things to a certain extent. Maybe not as a survival thing, but I think they can be aware of what resources they have or that they don't have. And that can affect how they do in school. That affects how they feed themselves. It affects how they socialize too.
Well, I think that it does affect them directly too, because if you have a parent who's stressed, who doesn't have energy, they're going to snap at you, or they're not going to provide the support that you need, the emotional support, the support with your homework. Like, you are going to feel it directly too if your parent is struggling.
Yeah, that's been true for a long time. I mean, kind of the environment you're brought up in, you're destined to make the same mistakes. That's why they talk about you're breaking the cycle, but it's very hard because you come up in that environment and you just keep doing the same thing. Like, it's very hard for you to realize, like, you know what, I fell into the same thing. It's just so normal to you. You literally have to like break that way of thinking and look at yourself from the outside, which most people can't do anyway.
Be around people who've had different upbringings, and then they'll realize, like, wait a minute, that's kind of fucked up. You grew up like that?
Yeah, but the thing is, even if they hear that and like they see it, it's still very hard to just be like, okay, you know what, that was wrong. Like, it's a change that you got to make like all the way. You can't just be like, oh, I saw it one time. Like I said, I personally am able to make changes like that. People are like, what the fuck? But I mean, I know most people can't. You can't just be like, oh, you know what? Like, I'm just not going to do that anymore. Like, it's very hard.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of change are you talking about? What specific change?
Like, for me, just things that I've done and stuff. Like, if I don't like doing a certain thing, I don't like it about myself, I'm just not going to do it anymore. Like, case in point, like how I stopped being an alcoholic. I was just like, I realized it and I was like, you know what? I don't need this. And that was it. There was no like relapse or anything. It was just like, I don't like where my life is going. How many alcoholics do you see that just flip like that? You really don't. So things like that for me, I can just be like, you know what? This is not working. It's over. It's gone from my life.
Yeah.
But then some people are so addicted that they really can't stop, or they relapse very quickly. And then some of them die very young from cirrhosis.
It's hard for some folks to cope, and they, like I said, they turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol a lot of the time. You know, maybe in response to a lot of these stressors. I think when I drank the most was when I was working for like a youth choir nonprofit, where they worked me hard. The expectations were high. I had to deal with these kids' rich parents just emailing me and texting me constantly, and then I would go home, make a cocktail, make two, open a bottle of wine, drink the whole thing. Not the same night, but just like that was like the pattern of the stress. And I also know people who, in states where marijuana is legal, it's easy for them to get a medical license, or just recreationally, they've used marijuana as their primary stress reliever, even if it will be financially harmful to them. Like, things are tight, but they always need to make sure that they have money for weed.
Yeah.
Because
imagine if you had kids during that time period when you were working that job and drinking a lot. What kind of parent do you think you would have been?
a dead one.
Are
you glad you asked?
I don't know what to say. I was talking more about the effect on the child acutely during that time period.
I don't think I would lash out. I don't think I'd be abusive. I think at worst I'd probably be socially neglectful.
Yeah. Well, the reason that I made a big change in terms of what I'm doing with my career is because when I was doing full-time hospital emergency medicine, I was so tired, and it resulted in me having to neglect my child in terms of not really spending time like talking to her and trying to teach her things. She mostly had to stay on the iPad because I'm like, I just got to sleep. Like, I'm so exhausted. And as a result, I noticed that she was developmentally delayed. Like, even comparing her to patients, like kids that were her age, I'm like, yeah, she's not talking like these kids. Like, she's not as advanced as these kids. So there were two reasons for trying to change things. One, obviously, I could feel that it was inflammatory and bad for my body to keep doing that long term. And also the effects it was having on my kid. And so I was able to figure out a way to just do like part-time freestanding ER medicine and do a lot of telemedicine. Also have done some insurance work. And now like my kid has caught up. I would say now she's way above average. And I think that's a result of changing the career situation.
Yeah. But it's not necessarily a privilege that a lot of folks have. You don't necessarily get those options.
Yeah, but I was able to see like why some kids don't have the advantages. I mean, when we grew up, our mom was a stay-at-home mom, and that was helpful in terms of our development, in terms of learning how to read at age 3, in terms of doing a lot of reading by the time we were in kindergarten.
Yeah, but stress.
Justin's like, I don't remember anything.
Mom was working at the time after the divorce. She was working.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but at least it was like a 9 to 5. I don't think it was like a situation where she had to work night shifts, because I do know other people that are not ER doctors that had to work night shifts in order to make things work with their kids. Like night shifts in like the onion processing factory or something, or some other type of night shift. I mean, night shifts are really harmful to the body.
Yeah. They're bad for the soul as well.
Yeah, but you can feel it. Like the physical effects are really, really
Also,
bad.
like the
Like
amount of time you're not spending in daylight too. You're losing
Yeah.
all of that sunlight that's good for your mental health, that vitamin D.
Yeah. Well, and the sleep quality for most people is not very good during the day compared to night. So I still do some night shifts, but I'm trying to limit my ER shifts as much as possible. I did a night shift recently where I actually did stay up all night, and I think I was done for like 2 days. Like I really couldn't accomplish much for 2 days. That's how tired I was.
Yeah, but the way that our current American society and economy are structured, we're not going to be getting rid of night shifts anytime soon.
I feel like for a lot of things, we should do away with night shifts. With emergency medicine, I don't see a way to get around it. I do think you could reform emergency medicine and maybe make it to where you have like a skeleton crew at night and go back to how it was in the past, where you'd have a nurse there or a few nurses, and they'd basically triage like, okay, you know, this can wait till 7 a.m., so come back. Or no, this can't wait, so let me wake up the doctor. If we could get naps during our shift in the hospital, that would be huge.
I mean, I'm not going to get any naps at work. Why should a doctor?
I'm talking about at night, sir. When
Even
are you
at
doing
night?
What? You don't do night
Nathan
shifts
does
in your
night
job?
work sometimes. Has
Yes,
to get
I
up
do.
Like at what, like 3
All
in the
night?
morning, 2 in the morning.
Yeah, and there's some of these jobs that can only be scheduled overnight.
Okay, but
So,
how many night shifts are you doing a month?
it depends. It could be from like 0 to like 6 or 7, depending how long it takes when I get to that job.
Well, that's not good for your body if you're doing 6 to 7 a month. There are some doctors that are pure nocturnists, and they'll do like 12 or more ER shifts at night a month. But I would say if you're just a regular full-timer, you're probably going to do, I would say, depending on the way the shifts are set up, you'd probably do like 4 to 6 a month. But like, for example, why do we have Whataburger open all night? Like, I had a patient one time that worked night shifts at Whataburger, and she felt like shit. Like, what's the purpose of that? Of having that kind of
So that
service?
people who are on night shifts can eat.
Yes, and people that are extremely drunk can also
I was talking
eat.
to someone about Whataburger recently, and one of the genius things that they figured out that not a lot of other places have is that breakfast food is awesome when you're fucked up. Should they have that breakfast menu from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m.?
It's obviously working.
I mean, it's promoting unhealthiness, because if there was no restaurant open at night for a night shifter, then they'd like pack a lunch, and that would probably
Some
be a
people
lot
don't
healthier.
have the time to do that either.
Yeah, and I don't think alcoholics are going to be packing lunches, taking them to the bar.
Yeah, so it'd actually be more dangerous for all those alcoholics walking around not being able to eat food.
Isn't Walmart also open at night?
No, Walmart still hasn't gone back to being open overnight.
Oh, okay, but it used to be open at night.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, yes.
See, something's happened with COVID where people realize, yeah, we don't need to do things in this way. Like, why do you need to have Walmart open at night?
Yeah, there's been like a few times where I'm like, oh man, I really wish Walmart was open right now. But I mean, it's been like a handful of times at most since COVID.
Yeah. People realize that you don't need to be in person for everything. You could have some meetings remotely.
Well, I think Whataburger didn't even go back to the 24 hours right away. I think they were closing also during that time. And then over time, I guess they saw that they were losing business, so they went back.
Yeah, there's also not a bunch of stuff to do overnight if you're a nocturnal person that's not staying in your house or going out to drink. So that's probably not great for your health either.
What's not great for your
If
health?
the only activities you can really do outside the house at night is go to a bar.
It's because you're supposed to be sleeping
No,
at night.
if you're a night shift person, your schedule is set up that way.
Uh-huh. What do you think about the Trump administration cutting nationwide tree planting efforts because of DEI?
Are the trees DEI or are the people planting them DEI?
I think it's the communities.
Okay.
Didn't we just talk about this? How like trees could potentially improve health because, especially in areas that have a lot of heat, like in South Texas, you could build like some canopies or some forested areas so that people would have more incentive to get out there.
Heat stroke is real.
A lot of these policies just don't make any sense.
Why? I mean, the only way I can imagine this fell under DEI is if some of these programs were talking about bringing people, a diverse group of people together, and they're like, no, we can't have that. Cut it.
So part of it was affecting New Orleans. They're talking about how New Orleans, there are a lot of concrete and vacant lots. The city gets really hot in the summer. They said last summer was really bad, worse than normal. So without trees to filter some of that heat, it's just unbearable. And it also said that trees are proven to reduce heat in cities, take up stormwater when it rains, and improve air quality. Why do a lot of these things just not make sense?
It's because they're probably just searching for words like diversity, equity, or inclusion, not even all three, in documents that were involved in the grant writing process.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to Ted Cruz. Like, they ended up cutting some programs where they had some of these words, but then they read it, like, it didn't even make any sense. It had nothing to do with people.
Yeah, like talking about like the biological
it.
diversity of an environment.
Well,
I'll look it up, but it was really dumb. It's like one of the things that got cut. I was like, really? Like, that means that you're literally just throwing it through AI, and if those words are in there, it's out.
I'm not sure if this particular situation was just pushed through AI because it said that Trump specifically ordered a list of all DEI programs, including programs related to environmental justice. And the $75 million tree planting program was part of the Biden administration's Justice 40 initiative, which is aimed to direct more resources to disadvantaged communities.
Yeah, well, there it is. Disadvantaged communities is DEI, so it's out.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, we're not actually saving money, though. Like, have you seen what they've said recently? Like, George Will had a good article about it. Like, we're not saving money. We're actually still increasing our debt. Like, these are, like, very minute things that are like a gnat on an elephant. Like, you're not really saving money and you're still spending a ton of money.
People still support this. Like, constituents still support this.
I feel like people don't understand it. Like, it needs to be explained to people that stupid things like this are happening. Things that have multiple effects that aren't just DEI. Like, they're effects in terms of improving the ability to exercise, improving health, improving the climate. I don't know. I feel like people don't understand and they're not really either listening to the right sources or they're not getting the explanations. Like, I was just talking about this at work. Like, DEI is thrown around like it's this bad thing. Yet, you listen to Tucker Carlson talk about how he wants it to be all about scores. Okay, I looked at Texas 15. the district that I'm potentially looking at running in. And so you look at the big school districts, schools that have an average ACT score around 18 to 20. Okay, so you're cool with my kid went to this school and Tucker Carlson's kid went to St. George's or whatever school. And the average ACT there is like a 30, 32 or something. So you're okay with the fact that that person's going to have an advantage over you because they're smarter?
They got better genetics,
smarter?
allegedly.
Yeah, like, do they have better genetics? Are they smarter because they went to that fancy boarding school as compared to your kid who went to Seguin ISD?
I would say no.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. That's what they're saying. Even if you're a white person that goes to Seguin ISD, you're going to be disadvantaged compared to a person who goes to St. George's
That's
or
true.
who goes to Phillips Exeter. So, I don't know.
I mean, they can keep doing all this for now. I mean, the base is going to see it when it happens to them. And that's the unfortunate thing right now, that they're okay with all the destruction until it hits them. And these changes with the DEI is where it's really going to hit a lot of these people when their kids get ready to graduate and they can't get into the schools they wanted to. Because why? Now we're not going to give you any advantages because your score's too low.
Are they going to understand, though, or are they going to claim that, well, their kid just didn't work hard enough and they didn't deserve it?
You're not going to see that because that's the only thing that's actually making them go against the administration is when it happens to them, which, like I said, is unfortunate. Like I said, it doesn't matter what happens to anybody else. The second it happens to them is where all of a sudden they have that epiphany and they're like, you know what? This is wrong. I didn't think he was going to do it to me. And until it happens to them, we won't really see that shift from the base.
If it can happen to someone else, it can absolutely happen to you.
Yeah, but would they even understand it when it's happening, or would it take too long to really realize what's happening? Like if your kid's like barely a 7th grader right now, maybe you won't see it for another 5 years.
Yeah, but like I said, in 5 years, they'll realize it. I mean, unfortunately, even at that point, it might be too late. But I mean, some of these people obviously have kids already at this point where these things are going to happen already.
Well, there was already a false narrative, though, that all these like white kids were not getting in because they were white. Affirmative action had already been struck down. So there was something that wasn't that great about their application. It wasn't just, because they're white, that's why they didn't get in.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there was like less white people getting in, but I think it's an insignificant amount where these type of policies are needed to like bring those numbers back up. Like it's just a very small portion anyway.
Yeah.
Well, the medical schools were already showing, even before Trump came in, that there was already a significant decline in Hispanic and Black students enrolling.
To me, this administration has always been about attacking issues that aren't really there, whether you're talking about trans people, the negativity of like this idea that it's bad to be a white male at this point in your life. Like they're making up all these issues and it's going to take a while. I mean, they're going to have to really see what happens.
I mean, if anyone has a victim mentality, it's those people.
But I don't think they really all have a victim mentality. It's just that they see it on there.
Well, those specific people that complain.
Yeah. I mean, those specific people, yeah. But I think I saw something the other day, like it's a very simple example. They say it's like the people going for this administration say like, we don't care what happens as long as it doesn't happen to us. And then they attack the liberal who says, you know what, we care because this shouldn't happen to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the disconnect that shouldn't be there. Like we should all care like that these things don't happen to anybody. Like I'm showing you that we care about you and you're showing us right back that you don't care what happens to me as long as you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And people aren't happy with how the Democrats are responding to it either. A lot of people feel that the Democrats aren't doing nearly enough to oppose all of this.
Well, what can be done when you have an authoritarian government that's threatening everyone, threatening colleges, taking away funding, threatening judges?
File lawsuits, go and rally around like Bernie does.
Yeah, but I think we were talking about this on the last pod where like they have this built-in mechanism already. Like anything that the Democrats say, they're either crying, they're whining, tough shit, deal with it. We went through it with you guys. Like they don't care. So like that message is hard to get out. Like I think the Democrats are doing more than enough, but that machine is rolling so hard now that anything they say is seen as weakness. And I don't know how you combat that.
It basically has to be with our own media companies and alternative media because their media has created a certain narrative that's going to make it very hard for Democrats. Like, for example, that whole New York Times article that claimed that we were misled about the origin of COVID. And then people were like shouting essentially that, oh, it was the lab leak all along, like we told you. It's like, first of all, we still don't know. And one of the people that was quoted in the article said that the article is horseshit. The thing is that you're never going to win because you have to be perfect. If you're not perfect, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're terrible. You lied. And there's always going to be like some nugget of truth to some of it.
Yeah, but it doesn't
right?
even matter if you're perfect at this point. I mean, I've said this before. Like, all that matters is that you're not on their side. You can throw all the data in their face, prove it to them, and they're still going to find a different article or opinion somewhere that reaffirms that they were right anyway. Or they're just going to tell you that they don't care about that. So, next topic.
I don't believe that the lab leak hypothesis mattered for at least the first 2 years. But right away, Tucker Carlson was claiming that it was a lab leak. And sometimes I think they just throw shit against the wall and they don't know if it's true. But then if it ends up being true, it's like, oh, we were right all along. You guys lied.
Well, I've asked people about this before. I was like, what does it matter to you if it was a lab leak or not? People were dying. Something needed to be done. And they're like, it would have changed everything. If we knew it was a lab leak, everything would have been different.
It's not
and
true.
I'm like, what would have been different? We still would have been on lockdown. We still would have needed a vaccine. Like, what would have changed because it was a lab leak?
Yeah. I don't think that those people know anything about medicine because that would presume that when you have the virus in the lab, that you also have an antidote for the virus. No, that's not a thing. We don't have antidotes for viruses, and viruses are very hard to control. When they exhumed people with the Spanish flu to get the virus and try to learn about it to see if maybe that would help, they're like, yeah, that basically didn't help. We couldn't figure out why it killed so many people. Like,
yeah, but I don't even think that when people say this, that things would have been different. I think it's just politically motivated and they just want to say that Trump was right.
I think the original purpose for the lab leak theory was really to deflect blame from Trump and to blame China. That was the goal. And now they're like, well, that was a lie by the left. It's like, no, I think what happened is that a lot of people on the left were like, why are you guys screaming about this? Like, there's no proof at this point. Like, we need to focus on controlling the virus, getting treatment for it. Like, why are you obsessed with this? Like, there's no proof at this point.
I still don't understand why people love this Trump guy. Like, what's the deal? What's the appeal?
He sounds like a normal dude.
I already told you why.
You could hang out with him, have a beer, and he'd tell you how it is.
I don't think I'd want to hang out with someone who's got that much makeup on, like that he looks like an Oompa Loompa. I think that in dealing with people, in arguing with people, I think some people like that. Like, they like to be assholes, and they like that he made it okay.
You mean assholes or racist?
Both. I mean, look at the people that I've dealt with. Like, I've had to essentially end friendships over people who have turned out to be terrible people, abusive people, because they feel enabled to do it.
You're talking about Justin here, right?
That's why I'm on
clearly
the pod,
not.
to be the dissenting voice. Like, well, actually, it's not racist when you think about it this way. I don't know. We're done.
With society or with the current
What
pod?
society? We're just running in circles here, and it doesn't feel like week to week anything is changing.
It's getting worse. It's changing in a negative way.
Because we have this
Something is
completely
changing.
impotent, hamstrung populace that believes all of this, that's enabling this to happen. And it doesn't matter if you are one of those constituents that voted for him and voted for the people around him who is being harmed by these policies, then your news will say, oh, those are paid actors who are going and protesting this town hall. It's like, motherfucker, I was there.
Yeah.
Well, how much did you get paid to be there, though?
I don't know. And then the whole idea of, Elon tweeting threats at Congress people if they don't completely fall in line with the Republicans, that they're going to be primaried in the next cycle if they show any wavering of their loyalty to Trump. Like, that's weird, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what he said from the beginning. He was always going to throw his weight behind anybody that was opposed to Trump.
Well, we do have some hope for these special elections that might help with the House. So there are a few special elections. Gay Valamont in Florida and Josh Wheel in Florida. They actually are raising a lot of money. They've both raised over $6 million each in just the last 2 months or so. So maybe if they could win their elections, maybe things would improve a little bit in the House. And we could run for office in general. And I think we still have to work on what we can do individually in our own families. Like, what I'm seeing is I'm going to start prepping my daughter for the SAT already. I mean, yeah, like, I'm basically shooting for her to get a perfect score on the SAT because it's going to be hard for her to get into a good college with what's going on. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to start teaching you SAT words every week. And she's like, okay.
What's
fifth
the
grade,
SAT word
it's
of the
time.
week?
Oh, I haven't started it. But I told her like yesterday, we'll probably do 10 words a week. But I mean, that's how we have to fight because they're going to make it to where it's going to be a lot harder for our kids, any minority kids, any women to get into top programs. I don't know. Like, some of these people are just screwed if they're going to stay in the right wing and just believe all this crap and not do anything about our schools improving and not do anything to make things fair in the way that I would consider fair. So, hey, that's on these people, on those people and what they do with their kids. But I'm going to be very proactive because I'm aware of what's going on. And my kid's going to have to kill on the SAT. She's going to have to kill on everything in order to get into a good college, in order to succeed at the level that she's capable of.
Well, good on doing all the good work. We can all try to do the good work by liking, subscribing the podcast, 5 stars, all the platforms, wherever you get your podcasts. I forget sometimes, but I'm pretty sure it's some combination of iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, YouTube, or Spotify. Wherever you get them, send out the questions to the mailbag at gasadecavassospod@gmail.com. Do we have some unanswered questions in there? I feel like we do.
We do, but we're still working on them because they require research.
What happened to
and
all
also
this
sometimes
like time that you're going to have in spring break?
With the questions?
Yeah, for everything, allegedly.
I did a lot of things, but the website is still in process because it's hard for me to figure out how to do the website.
There's also no merch, no stickers.
Hey, but I published this on YouTube. Unfortunately, what happened is one episode already got deleted, our most recent. Well, the RFK vaccines obesity, because they claimed I was giving misinformation.
So we already got doged.
On YouTube, but you can still listen to it on all the other platforms.
Just like you quoting misinformation?
I believe so.
Assholes.
Maybe say that next time. Be like, I'm about to quote some misinformation.
I don't know.
All right. See you later.
All right. Until next time.
Foreign country assembly.